25 forgotten family dinners from the 1960s that brought everyone together. Remember when family dinner meant everyone gathered around the table every single night? Back in the 1960s, these home-cooked meals brought families together with hearty dishes that took hours to prepare and created lasting memories, until busy schedules and fast food made them disappear from our dining rooms. Let's take a trip back and explore 25 forgotten family dinners from the 1960s that brought everyone together. The early 60s foundation. Picture this. It's 1961, and every weeknight at 6 p.m. sharp, families across America are gathering around their dining room tables for home-cooked meals that represent stability, tradition, and togetherness. These weren't fancy restaurant dishes. They were substantial, satisfying dinners that anchored family life and created the rhythm of daily routine. 1. Meatloaf with mashed potatoes and green beans was the cornerstone of American family dining, served every Monday night in countless homes. The meatloaf was made from ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, chopped onions, and milk, seasoned with salt, pepper, and a touch of Worcestershire sauce, then shaped by hand and baked in a loaf pan until it developed a golden brown crust. A glaze made from ketchup, brown sugar, and mustard was brushed on top during the last 15 minutes of baking, creating a sweet and tangy coating that caramelized beautifully. The mashed potatoes were made from scratch using russet potatoes that were peeled, boiled until tender, then mashed with butter, warm milk, and cream until they were fluffy and smooth. Fresh green beans were trimmed and simmered with a ham bone or bacon until they were tender and flavorful, creating a complete meal that satisfied both children and adults. 2. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes transformed tough cuts of beef into tender, flavorful dinners through slow, patient cooking. A chuck roast was seasoned with salt and pepper, then seared in a heavy Dutch oven until all sides were deeply browned, creating the foundation of rich flavor. Onions, carrots, and celery were added along with beef broth, and the entire pot was covered and simmered slowly for hours until the meat was fork tender and the vegetables had absorbed all the savory flavors. 3. Fried chicken with coleslaw and corn on the cob brought Sunday dinner elegance to weeknight tables. Chicken pieces were soaked in buttermilk, then dredged in seasoned flour and fried in hot oil until the coating was golden brown and crispy while the meat remained juicy and tender. Homemade coleslaw provided a cool, crunchy contrast with its dressing made from mayonnaise, vinegar, and sugar. Casserole culture. Picture this. It's 1962, and casseroles are becoming the busy mother's secret weapon for creating satisfying family dinners that could be assembled ahead of time and baked while she helps with homework or handles other household tasks. These one-dish wonders represented both convenience and creativity, transforming simple ingredients into memorable meals. 4. Tuna noodle casserole with peas was the ultimate comfort food that could feed a family of 6 for under $2. White egg noodles were cooked until tender, then combined with canned tuna that had been drained and flaked, frozen peas, and a rich cream sauce made from butter, flour, milk, and chicken broth. The mixture was seasoned with salt, pepper, and a touch of garlic powder, then transferred to a buttered casserole dish and topped with crushed saltine crackers mixed with melted butter. The casserole was baked until bubbly and golden on top, creating a dish that was both economical and satisfying, with the salty crackers providing a perfect textural contrast to the creamy interior. 5. King Ranch chicken brought Tex-Mex flavors to family dinner tables across the country. Whole chickens were poached until tender. Then the meat was removed from the bones and shredded into bite-sized pieces. Corn tortillas were cut into strips and layered in a baking dish with the chicken, diced onions, bell peppers, and a rich cheese sauce made from processed cheese melted with chicken broth and diced green chiles. The layers were repeated until the dish was full, then topped with more cheese and baked until bubbly. The combination of tender chicken, spicy peppers, and creamy cheese created a dinner that was both exotic and familiar. 6. Beef stroganoff over egg noodles elevated everyday ingredients into an elegant family dinner. Strips of beef sirloin were quickly seared until browned, then removed from the pan while mushrooms and onions were sautéed until golden and tender. The beef was returned to the pan along with beef broth and sour cream, creating a rich, creamy sauce that was seasoned with paprika and fresh dill. The stroganoff was served over wide egg noodles that had been cooked until tender and tossed with butter and parsley, creating a dinner that felt sophisticated enough for company, yet comfortable enough for family. International influences. Picture this. It's 1963, and American families are becoming more adventurous with their dinner choices as international travel and ethnic restaurants introduce new flavors and cooking techniques to suburban kitchens. These dinners represented a growing curiosity about the world beyond traditional American fare. 7. Spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread brought Italian-American flavors to family dinner tables across the country. The meatballs were made from a mixture of ground beef, ground pork, breadcrumbs soaked in milk, eggs, and grated Parmesan cheese, seasoned with garlic, oregano, and parsley, then rolled by hand and browned in olive oil until golden on all sides. A rich tomato sauce was made from scratch using canned tomatoes, onions, garlic, and herbs, simmered slowly until it developed deep, complex flavors. The meatballs were added to the sauce and simmered until tender, while spaghetti was cooked al dente and tossed with the sauce. Garlic bread was made by mixing butter with minced garlic and parsley, spreading it on Italian bread, and toasting until golden and fragrant. 8. Chili con carne with cornbread introduced southwestern flavors to families across America. Ground beef was browned with diced onions and garlic, then combined with kidney beans, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, and a blend of spices including chili powder, cumin, and paprika. The chili was simmered slowly for hours to allow the flavors to meld and develop complexity, with the liquid reducing to create a thick, rich consistency. The cornbread was made from scratch using cornmeal, flour, eggs, buttermilk, and a touch of sugar, baked in a cast iron skillet until golden brown with a slightly crispy crust and tender, moist interior. 9. Beef teriyaki with rice brought Asian flavors to American dinner tables. Thin slices of beef were marinated in a mixture of soy sauce, brown sugar, garlic, and ginger, then quickly stir-fried in a hot pan until caramelized and tender. The marinade was reduced to create a glossy sauce that coated the beef, while steamed white rice provided a neutral base that absorbed the flavorful sauce. Steamed broccoli or snow peas completed the meal, adding color and nutrition. 10. Chicken cacciatore over pasta showcased rustic Italian cooking with chicken pieces braised in a rich tomato sauce. Chicken thighs and drumsticks were seasoned and browned until golden, then braised with onions, bell peppers, mushrooms, tomatoes, and herbs until the meat was falling off the bone and the vegetables were tender. The dish was served over spaghetti or penne pasta, creating a hearty dinner that brought the flavors of Italy to American families. Sunday best. Picture this. It's 1964, and Sunday dinner is still a sacred tradition that brings extended families together for elaborate meals that showcase the cook's finest skills and create lasting memories around the dinner table. These weren't everyday dinners. They were special occasions that required advanced planning and careful execution. 11. Roast beef with Yorkshire pudding was the epitome of Sunday dinner elegance. A standing rib roast was seasoned generously with salt, pepper, and herbs, then roasted at high heat initially to develop a beautiful crust before being reduced to a lower temperature for even cooking. The roast was cooked to perfect medium rare, with the internal temperature carefully monitored to ensure the meat remained juicy and tender. Yorkshire pudding was made using the drippings from the roast, combining them with a batter made from eggs, flour, and milk that was beaten until smooth and allowed to rest before being poured into hot muffin tins and baked until puffed and golden. Roasted vegetables including carrots, potatoes, and onions completed the meal, all cooked in the same pan as the roast to absorb the rich flavors. 12. Baked ham with pineapple glaze created a centerpiece dinner that was both beautiful and delicious. A spiral-cut ham was scored in a diamond pattern and studded with whole cloves, then glazed with a mixture of brown sugar, pineapple juice, and Dijon mustard that was brushed on repeatedly during baking to create layers of caramelized flavor. Pineapple rings and maraschino cherries were arranged on top of the ham, securing them with toothpicks and the entire ham was baked slowly until the glaze was golden and sticky. Sweet potato casserole and green bean almondine provided traditional accompaniments that complemented the sweet and savory flavors of the ham. 13. Crown roast of pork with apple stuffing represented the pinnacle of special occasion cooking. 2 pork loins were tied together to form a crown shape, with the bones Frenched and capped with paper frills for an elegant presentation. The cavity was filled with a stuffing made from breadcrumbs, diced apples, onions, celery, and herbs, moistened with chicken broth and bound with beaten eggs. The roast was carefully cooked to ensure the meat remained tender and juicy, while the stuffing absorbed all the flavorful drippings, creating a dinner that was both visually stunning and incredibly delicious. Comfort food classics. Picture this. It's 1965, and comfort food is reaching its golden age as families seek meals that provide both physical satisfaction and emotional comfort in an increasingly complex world. These dinners represented the heart of American home cooking, emphasizing hearty ingredients and traditional techniques. 14. Chicken and dumplings was the ultimate comfort food that transformed simple ingredients into a soul-satisfying dinner. A whole chicken was simmered slowly in a large pot with onions, carrots, celery, and herbs until the meat was falling off the bones and the broth was rich and flavorful. The chicken was removed and the meat was picked from the bones while the broth was strained and seasoned. Fluffy dumplings were made from flour, baking powder, salt, and milk, mixed just until combined to create a sticky dough that was dropped by spoonfuls into the simmering broth. The dumplings cooked until they were light and fluffy, absorbing the rich chicken flavors while providing satisfying substance to the meal. 15. Beef stew with crusty bread transformed tough cuts of beef into tender, flavorful dinners through slow, patient cooking. Chuck roast was cut into cubes and dredged in seasoned flour, then browned in batches until all sides were deeply caramelized. Onions, carrots, and celery were sautéed until softened. Then the beef was returned to the pot along with beef broth, diced tomatoes, and herbs. The stew was simmered slowly for hours until the meat was fork tender and the vegetables had absorbed all the rich flavors. Potatoes were added during the last hour of cooking to provide substance without becoming mushy. The stew was served with crusty bread that was perfect for soaking up the flavorful gravy. 16. Pork chops with applesauce and mashed sweet potatoes combined sweet and savory flavors in perfect harmony. Thick-cut pork chops were seasoned with salt, pepper, and sage, then pan-fried until golden brown and cooked through while remaining juicy and tender. Homemade applesauce was made from fresh apples that were peeled, cored, and cooked with a touch of sugar and cinnamon until they broke down into a smooth, chunky sauce. Sweet potatoes were baked until tender, then mashed with butter, brown sugar, and a touch of vanilla, creating a side dish that complemented the pork perfectly. Modern conveniences. Picture this. It's 1966, and modern kitchen appliances and convenience foods are beginning to change how families approach dinner preparation. But the focus remains on creating satisfying meals that bring everyone together around the table. These dinners represented the marriage of traditional cooking with modern innovations. 17. TV dinner transformation elevated the concept of the frozen dinner by recreating it with fresh ingredients. Sliced turkey breast was roasted until golden and tender. Serve alongside real mashed potatoes made from scratch and fresh green beans that were steamed until crisp tender. A rich turkey gravy was made from the pan drippings, and everything was arranged on individual plates and served family style, proving that convenience didn't have to mean sacrificing quality or flavor. 18. Fondue night brought Swiss sophistication to American dinner tables with an interactive dining experience that made mealtime fun for the whole family. A cheese fondue was made by melting Gruyere and Emmental cheeses with white wine and a touch of garlic, creating a smooth, creamy mixture that was kept warm in a fondue pot. Cubes of crusty bread, boiled potatoes, and fresh vegetables were arranged on platters for dipping, while a chocolate fondue provided a sweet ending to the meal with fresh fruits and cake cubes for dipping. 19. Beef bourguignon brought French elegance to family dinner tables with this wine-braised beef dish that seemed sophisticated yet approachable. Beef chuck was cut into cubes and marinated in red wine overnight. then braised slowly with bacon, pearl onions, mushrooms, and herbs until the meat was fork tender and the sauce was rich and glossy. The dish was served over egg noodles or mashed potatoes, creating a dinner that felt elegant enough for company, yet comfortable enough for family. 20. Chicken Kiev represented the height of 1960s culinary sophistication with its butter-filled chicken breasts wrapped in crispy coating. Chicken breasts were pounded thin and wrapped around seasoned butter mixed with herbs, then breaded and fried until golden brown and crispy outside, while the butter melted to create a rich, flavorful center. The dish was served with rice pilaf and steamed vegetables, creating a dinner that seemed restaurant elegant but was achievable in the home kitchen. Regional specialties. Picture this. It's 1967, and families across America are celebrating their regional culinary traditions while also exploring specialties from other parts of the country, creating a rich tapestry of flavors that reflect the diversity of American cooking. These dinners showcased ingredients and techniques that were specific to different regions. 21. New England clam bake brought the flavors of coastal Maine to dinner tables across the country. Fresh clams were steamed in a large pot with lobster, corn on the cob, and new potatoes, all layered with seaweed to impart a briny, oceanic flavor. The seafood was served with melted butter for dipping and accompanied by coleslaw and crusty bread. For families not near the coast, the dish was adapted using available seafood and vegetables. But the communal style of eating and the emphasis on fresh, simple ingredients remained the same. 22. Southern fried chicken with biscuits and gravy showcased the comfort food traditions of the American South. Chicken pieces were soaked in buttermilk overnight, then dredged in seasoned flour and fried in hot oil until the coating was golden brown and crispy, while the meat remained juicy and tender. Buttermilk biscuits were made from scratch and served with sausage gravy made from the pan drippings, creating a hearty dinner that satisfied both children and adults. Collard greens cooked with ham hocks and cornbread completed the meal. 23. Texas barbecue beef brisket brought the flavors of the Southwest to family dinner tables. A whole beef brisket was rubbed with a mixture of spices including chili powder, cumin, paprika, and brown sugar, then smoked slowly over wood coals until it developed a dark, crusty bark while the interior remained tender and juicy. The brisket was sliced and served with barbecue sauce, coleslaw, and baked beans, creating a dinner that celebrated the art of slow cooking and bold flavors. The changing times. Picture this. It's 1968, and the world is changing rapidly, but family dinner remains a constant source of stability and connection in uncertain times. These final dinners represent both the culmination of 1960s family cooking traditions and the beginning of changes that would transform how families eat together. 24. Quiche Lorraine represented the growing sophistication of American home cooking as families embraced French cuisine. A flaky pastry crust was filled with a rich custard made from eggs, cream, and milk, then studded with crispy bacon and Gruyere cheese. The quiche was baked slowly until the custard was just set and the top was golden brown, creating a dinner that was both elegant and satisfying. Served with a simple green salad dressed with vinaigrette and crusty French bread. This meal demonstrated how American families were expanding their culinary horizons while maintaining the tradition of gathering around the dinner table. 25. The last traditional Sunday dinner represented the end of an era with a meal that combined all the elements that had made 1960s family dinner special. A perfectly roasted chicken was the centerpiece, surrounded by mashed potatoes, green beans, dinner rolls, and homemade gravy. The preparation began early in the morning with careful planning and timing to ensure everything came together perfectly. The table was set with the good china and cloth napkins, and the entire family gathered to share not just a meal, but the traditions and values that had sustained families throughout the decade. As the 1970s approached, this type of elaborate family dinner would become increasingly rare, making way for more casual dining and convenience foods. But the memory of these special meals would remain a touchstone for what family dinner could be when time, care, and love came together around shared table. When dinner brought us home. And there you have it, 25 forgotten family dinners from the 1960s that brought everyone together. These weren't just meals. They were daily rituals that anchored family life and created the rhythm of home. From simple weeknight meatloaf to elaborate Sunday feasts, each dinner told the story of a time when families understood that sharing a meal was about more than food. It was about connection, conversation, and belonging. Today, when we eat on the run or grab takeout between activities, we might wonder what we lost when we stopped gathering around the dinner table every night. These forgotten family dinners remind us that some traditions create more than full stomachs. They create full hearts, lasting memories, and the foundation of what makes a house feel like home.